Well, I want to start by thanking everybody taking the time to watch this video. I think it's important to watch and get some facts about the projects we started here at the school, at the board level, and involves the community. This is a project we started at the school level. We'll talk about the school first, the high school renovation. We started it formally 18 months ago, but it's been on conversation at the board levels way long before that. What started this conversation was we've got a very structurally sound building, but all the components inside, whether it be floor coverings or heating, windows, plumbing, it's all getting really tired. The boiler is put in 1980. The current boiler we got was put in 1980. The piping that it runs through was original with the building though, so it's over 100 years old. Same way with our wastewater plumbing in our school. You know, we've done some remodeling in our bathrooms, but the plumbing that takes the waste outside is all original, or most of it's original, besides the stuff that's broken we fixed, but majority of it is original, and that's what's driving this whole project. Is we're just getting really tired building and think it's time that we go ahead and replace some of the stuff before it gives us trouble. So we're trying to be proactive at the board level. We've met with lots of companies and spoke to them about different options and cost. We've had some very good conversations with all the companies. All the companies come back relatively the same price, relatively close anyways. We've decided to go with Johnson Controls as the lead on this project, and HKG will be the engineer on the project. And I think they're going to work really good hand in hand, and I feel that we've got two very, very good companies to take this project and get it finished for us. So some important things that we're going to do in this project is it'll be complete HVAC remodel, so that'll be heating and cooling both. We don't currently have cooling, but we'll have cooling, we'll have air conditioning in this building when we get done. It'll be all new electrical, move the panels and update all of our electrical. And that means panels and power, and that also means right down to the plugins that are in the rooms. So they'll all be touched in some shape or form. All the windows will be touched. We're thinking about going back to all big windows that were originally put in this building, that kind of look to keep that character of this building that's important to the Springs and the alumni. We think that's pretty exciting. When you see the pictures of that building, it's a pretty amazing looking building from the outside. It really dresses the building up, I feel, and it just brings back the character that this thing was built with. We're going to put fire suppression in all the rooms, and that'll be sprinklers, and by doing that we don't have to have fireproof doors, and so we get to keep all the woodwork and the doors that we all grew up with, and our kids can go to school in the same kind of environment that we went as far as woodwork and stuff, and we think that's important. This project, we're going to move some rooms around, and the reason we're moving rooms around is for cost savings. We have to redo the plumbing anyways, and so when we redo the plumbing, it'll help save some money if we stack some of this plumbing stuff on top of each other. The bathrooms will get put on each floor. There'll be 2 fixtures on each floor, boys and girls on both floors, and they will be stacked. Talking about putting an elevator in to meet ADA requirements. We currently have a lift, a chair lift, that is not really reliable. It don't work all the time. Fortunately enough, this community hasn't had anybody that needed it all the time. And we haven't had a teacher that needed it either. You know, we think it's all about students, but if we have a parent that is in a wheelchair or has bad knees or whatever that needs some kind of handicap or an elevator, we have a teacher that would apply, that would be a great teacher to our school that has restrictions, and even students. So that's the reason for the elevator. If we do a project of this size, all the companies we've talked to says we have to meet code on everything. We're currently grandfathered in, but if we just touch the HVAC part of this, the companies that we've talked to says we have to meet code. And by doing that, it involves an elevator and plumbing and electrical and all that stuff. And to me, the elevator is very important. We've been fortunate enough not to have that problem, but it could just well be my kid or your kid or a grandson or granddaughter that could get in that accident tonight and be paralyzed. So, and I'm not going to go to my kids' bedside and tell them that I was too cheap to put in an elevator. So the cost of the elevator and the scheme of the project isn't that big of a deal, and I think it's very important that we go ahead and do it. So when we do this project, we'll get paint and walls and flooring. It'll be virtually a new style school inside these walls with the old building. And I want to take time to thank all the past custodians and administration and teachers and students that have been in this school, because there's a lot of these companies can't believe what kind of shape this school is in. The school is 100 years old, And they come to these buildings thinking they're gonna build us a new school until they get in this building that we currently have, and they just can't get over how well taken care of it is. You know, they said we walk into buildings all the time that we tear down because no one's taking care of them. You know, for example, just this last summer, the board has went ahead and tuck pointed the outside of the building and fixed all the masonry on the outside of the building. So structurally, this building is one of the best buildings in the community, and we want to keep it that way. And that's why we're proposing this renovation at the high school level. The renovation at the high school will be $4.5 million. That's what we're going to vote on November 28th. There'll be a bond to renovate this high school for $4.5 million. But this will be a full renovation, everybody. This will be from the ground up. It'll entail all 3 floors. All 3 floors will be touched in some manner. There'll be elevator and all the stuff I spoke about earlier. So I think it's very, very well thought out. It's something that the board hasn't taken lightly. We spent lots of time and lots of hours discussing what we want to do and how we want to do it. And we think we've come to the community for a vote for the best project that we can come up with the spending your money the most wisely. So that's the high school renovation. The other project, you know, on the board level here has been talked about for 18 months, but it's been a community project for 25 plus years. It's a project that everybody in the community has talked about at one point of their life, but we haven't got it off the ground. And that's an auxiliary gymnasium that we would attach to the current gymnasium. The board feels that attaching to the current gymnasium gains a lot of efficiencies for the school, so it makes it more usable and more beneficial to the school. The regular gym we got now becomes a classroom during regular school hours. So the auxiliary gym, you know, would give us opportunity to use that with other classrooms that aren't in PE. You know, if I got a physics class that I want to go there and do a physics experiment, I need a big area to do it, I can go to that auxiliary gym and do that. On bad days when the weather's bad, it would give the teachers opportunities to have recess inside without taking the kids outside. And that's important, and maybe don't think so, and I would encourage you to ask some teachers down there at the grade school. They would tell you differently, that a first grader or second grader, 8 hours in a classroom in a chair, sitting there doing nothing gets to be quite a bit. They need some time to get out and run and give her some energy, and keep them in a classroom in a chair. By the afternoon, they are no longer focused and on task anymore. But if you can give them some recess time to kind of blow off some steam, they're a totally different student after dinner. And I think that's important for our teachers and the well-being of our students and our learning environment. And also, just a small touch, but is, you know, the gymnasium becomes for sports too. But that's not the whole selling point. It is not sports, but we have a lot of sports to take on in the wintertime, and we have multiple practices in there. It allows us to have practice after school with both boys and girls, and get these kids home and spend time with their family and have meals with their family and have just downtime with the family and to work on their studies. You know, currently we have some kids that don't get home until 9 o'clock at night, and they got to do their homework yet, and they don't have supper with their families no more. And I guess in a small community, I believe that's a really, really important value, and that's part of the reason some of us move here. And if they don't have it at 9 o'clock, they have it at 6:30 in the morning, and a lot of these kids are on the roads before the plows go out and stuff, and I think that's also a safety thing for our kids. So all these projects, I believe, are really important to the learning of our kids and the well-being of our kids. And I would just think that we need to keep in mind how important these 2 projects are to the community. So we're going to have two bonds. One will be a $4.5 million bond you can vote on for the high school renovation. That'll be a yes or no on August 28th. And there'll be another bond for the gymnasium. It'll be a $1 million bond. The gymnasium will cost like $1.7 million. We're only asking for $1 million from the taxpayers, and we'll take the other $700,000 out of capital outlay to help fund that. So it'll be yes or no on the gymnasium. Both bonds are separate. You can pass one and not the other, or you're more than welcome to pass both of them, which I encourage you to do, is pass both of them, because I feel they're very important to the community and to the schools. And the importance of the school in the community is big, I feel. Without a school, we don't have our Main Street businesses, you know. We come to town, they pick up our kids, and that's when we do our shopping. We go uptown and get groceries, or we get gas at the Dinger, or we go to True Value, or whatever we might do, get parts, and just all the businesses in town really strive on a school. And I think that's important to understand that, you know, this school, we can argue whether or not we want to spend the 4.5, but this school needs renovated. And that's not a question. I mean, everybody knows that the school needs renovated. The longer we wait to renovate this school, the more expensive it's going to get. So I encourage you to pass the bond at $4.5 million because we feel we got good prices, and if we wait, it's only gonna cost more, and the school's gonna be in worse shape. But this becomes a community project now. The school's done all it can do. We've passed a bond to go out for election. Now it's up to you guys as taxpayers to decide if you want to better the school or not, and that'll be on November 28th. But keep in mind the importance of this community and this school. The school helps bring people to the hospital, to employ people at the hospital, the apartments, it employs people uptown. It's important to everybody in the community, and I want everybody to understand the importance of that. And the gymnasium is the same thing. By having an auxiliary gym, it allows us to have more tournaments in town and stuff, and by doing that, it brings more people to town. And that's what we need in a small community, is to bring people to town. I'll turn it over to Amber if she's got something to add.
I guess Todd did a pretty good job explaining everything. The one thing I wanted to touch on a little more is when we passed both of these bonds, the 4.5 and the 1, that would be a tax increase of 62 cents per thousand in tax valuation, which isn't the current market value, it's what you're being taxed at. And generally that's quite a bit lower than what the market value of that property would be. And also there's been some research on what the capital outlay is and what people, school districts around us are paying for tax. And whether it was bond or their capital outlay or whatever, and we have found that currently Wessington Springs is the second lowest paying capital outlay school district out of the 15 schools in our area that we looked into. Even with this 62-cent increase, it would still put us in the bottom, correct me, bottom five. So there's, even with this, both of these bonds passing. So I feel like these are very reasonable projects, and I feel like the taxpayers are still put in a position that's very affordable, especially compared to the districts that are around us. As for the projects, I'm really excited about these projects. We have done, as a building committee, we've done a lot of work on this for the last many months, meeting with contractors and groups, and really just asking the questions that need to be asked, and we really feel like we have a good understanding of what this school needs, and we've tried to be as conservative as we can be and still do the project right, which I feel is important. We want to do this project once and we want to do it right, and we don't want this to drag on for 5 or 10 years. We want our kids to have, there's going to be that little bit of a time period where we're going to have change here, but we want it to be a one-time change, and then we want the kids to be able to get back to their normal studies. We don't want this to drag out forever. So that's part of why we picked Johnson Controls. They have the timeline that's realistic, so we can keep our kids in this school. They're going to start as soon as school lets out in May, and they're going to have enough of it done by the time school starts so that the kids can come back to this high school. And that's important to me. I think that, if we relocate these high school, middle school and high school kids, whether it's churches or the ag building or whatever, it just creates a lot of chaos, and I don't feel like that's a very good learning environment for our kids for the next school year. So it was important that we had a timeline that was in favor of the kids' best education. And like Todd said, these windows that are going in, they're going to be more efficient than what we have now. I know we've had people ask questions about, why aren't we doing the little windows and just leaving the blocks? And actually those blocks and the little window is less efficient than the new windows that we're going to put back in, just because of the changes in technology and the ability to produce a better window. We're going to gain so many efficiencies right now. We're losing a lot of heat and energy out of those blocks and windows. As for the gymnasium, Todd talked on a lot of the great points. It's just important that our kids have the opportunities to get home at a decent time so they can do their studies and they can get to bed at a decent time, because I've seen firsthand, not only with my kid, but talking to other parents too, that these kids get really wore out during the winter sports season, and I feel like that's probably going to affect their studies. It has to, and so this is just doing what's best for our kids, and that's just on the kid end. We have our community benefits from it, whether they, maybe there's a time where they can go use it for a walking track, or they can, if they want to have an event there, they can, because the school is the community's building. It is their facilities, and we want to be able to benefit the kids and the general public. We want to bring in be able to bring in tournaments, bring in that income for the Main Street and just everyone in Wessington Springs that we know we can all use. So I guess as for that, that's kind of my take on this. So please go out and vote November 28th. The doors open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you have any questions, please call the school or call any board member, and we can get you the information you need. We'll answer any of your questions, and hopefully we want you guys to be informed, and we want you to go vote informed, and that's important. We want you to know what you're voting on, and we want you to make what you feel is the best decision. So, anything to add with that?
No, I would agree with Amber with all them points. Did a very well job. About taxes, for example, so just break it down for you a little bit. If we have a $100,000 house in town, if we do pass both bonds, both the gym and the school, and they both pass, which I'm hopeful they will, it would cost you $62 additional to what you pay now to do both renovations, do the auxiliary gym and the renovation at the high school. If you're an egg landowner, you know, it all depends on your tax evaluation, but on a $2,000 tax evaluation, it'll cost you around $1.20 an acre additional to what you pay now over on your taxes. So the cost to everybody is not that great. You know, I'm an egg producer, so I'll bring it up, but $1.20 an acre does not amount to much on the farm. You know, we're talking a half a bushel of corn or an eighth of a bushel of beans. I think it's well worth it to spend that money wisely, and I think that's what the board is doing. And this is going to better the education for our kids and better our community. And I just want to say I think that's how important this is, guys. This is not something that we're doing just to do. This is something to better the community and to better the education and the opportunities for our kids. And that is our community, is our kids. Because when we're gone, we want our kids to move back here. And that's why we're doing it. And I think when you look at what it's actually costing you per year, it isn't that much, and it's very, very important to pass both bonds, I believe. And like you said, call somebody if you got questions. I want everybody to vote. Everybody voting is very, very important. But make sure when you vote, you're informed with the right facts. And any board member will be glad to talk to you, or somebody at the school. Reach out to a teacher, reach out to a friend. So me and Amber, we'd love to talk to anybody that wants to talk about it. I'd also like to add too, if you've got time and can get out, we have November 20th, we have a public informational meeting at the High School Learning Center at 7 o'clock. There'll be tours of the school between 6 and 7 that night. We encourage everybody to come to that meeting that will. It's important to come to that meeting. You'll hear both sides of the story at that meeting, and you'll get lots and lots of information and get to talk to other community members about the project. And so it's important, again, November 20th at 7 o'clock is the meeting. 6 to 7 is tours of the school. If you can't make it that night, contact the school and somebody will give you a tour of the school if you wish. I just want to thank you for the time for watching this short video about the school and the tour, and hope that if you have questions, you get a hold of one of us and we can answer it.
Thank you.